Worst comes to worst. It says meeting is now streaming on Facebook. So I'm just going to check it, Beth, because that's me. I think it really is streaming. Okay.
Yeah, it says live on the screen.
Okay, so hello everyone. This is Michelle Howe from Empath Evolution, and this is
Beth Fox from Healing That Rocks.
Healing That Rocks. Oh my gosh, that rhymes so well.
Awesome.
Healing That Rocks.
I love saying that.
Ooh, that's really awesome. See, I didn't put that together before you actually brought that in with you.
Well, it's about the crystal healing side of what I do, but it also really goes well with my names.
Yes, it does. Well, and that was done on purpose, I'm sure.
It was accidentally on purpose because I asked the universe to send me a name for my business. And I woke up the next morning and I was like, I know what it is. And then it was like, it just flowed. So, yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful. So this is the first of a series of interviews that I'm hoping to do because I get excited and I really get into hearing what it is that made us discover the whole empath idea, sensitivity idea, spiritual idea, and what that means to us because we're each coming at this from our own journey, our own experiences. Let me take this down. Okay. So Beth, I've known you for a little bit. I think we have a friend in the background. Who is that, first of all, next to you?
Oh, this is Miss Tansy. I told you that there would be some sort of animal pop into the scene while we were doing this.
Wait. What's the name again?
Tansy.
Tansy?
Means eternal.
Oh, okay. Well, it's nice to have her. It's a she, correct?
Yeah, see, there's her tail.
Oh my gosh, that's hysterical. So, I have known you for a while. You went into Empath Evolution's community a while.
Like in 16, I think. 16 or 17. Yeah, it's been a little bit.
Yeah, and I want to say you participated in back when I think I did Embracing Your Path. Did I do that? Were you in that?
I would have to go back and look at what all I've done because I did several with you right out the gate, and I have to go back and look.
I think you were. So, all right. Where do we start? Let's see.
Right?
Where do we start? Beth, like what is your back like here? I can say where you're at today. You can do all these different things and you're really passionate about your purpose, your role, spirit, healing. I want to know where you've come from and how this actually was brought into your life because everyone's got a different story. And some of them are really, so moving that people will definitely relate to it. From me talking to empaths for all these years since I've been Empath Evolution and even before, most of us, including myself, I had no idea.
Yeah.
So.
And I can relate to that.
Yeah. So tell me more. How did it start?
Well, and I've got so I'm also, I can already feel my grandfather around me. So it started way back when I was 2 years old. And I woke up one morning and I said, I went to my dad and I said, Grandpa passed away. And he said, no, honey, he's fine. He's all right. About an hour later, we got a phone call and he had indeed passed away. Well, it was because he came to me and, as I was sleeping. And so that was the first sign of any gift with me that I'm aware of that my dad has told me about. But all my life, I've had this, what do I want to say? It's like I always thought everybody felt the same intensity that I felt in things. And I don't even where to start with that because
go back up just a second. Felt the same intensity as I felt on things.
Yeah.
Tell me really what that translates into, like examples of what made that so strong for you, and how did it impact how did the people around you impact, how did that resonate with them, or how do they react to that, you know?
So like friends and family that would say, like things that would move me to tears at a very young age, or feeling very connected to people that they would tell me stories and I would sit there and cry with them. And my mom, I remember my mom saying, "What are you going to be like when you're 16?" Well, I don't know. But I had no idea why. I just thought that was normal. I thought that that emotion and why I hated going to shopping malls. And I mean, I've never been that person that likes to go to the mall. It's too much. But I didn't understand that when I was growing up. Um, it was well after my second divorce that I I was like, I got to figure this out. I have to understand why when I touch someone or I mean, people could shake my hand and I'd be like, whoa. And, why do I feel like I need to back away from them? And, people around me thought, oh, she's, what's wrong with you? She's, I couldn't explain it. You can't put that into words. When you feel that at a different level and they don't have that themselves, it's really hard to explain. So
So it showed up as I'm tearing up.
yeah, I would tear up, I would chill up, I would have chills, I would feel I remember working with a lady that she was always sick. And I would walk in and say, "You feeling all right today?" Because I could feel her illness coming on.
Yeah.
And I at that point I was totally clueless to why. But after it happened many times, I started to take more note of the fact that was happening. Um,
Did
when
you
my dad was sick,
go ahead?
huh?
Keep going.
When
Sorry.
my dad was sick, I would do that where I would have pain in my side, and it was he had pancreatitis, and he actually passed away from pancreatic cancer. But I would have pain in my body and not know why, thinking it was female stuff when it was truly one-sided. It was the pancreas, and it was hurting.
It was related to
And as
him.
soon as his attack cleared, or I acknowledged it, it would pass. It didn't even hit me until he was passed away, and years later, probably 10 years later, that I fully understood why I felt that way. My dad and I, when I was about 20 years old, I had been camping with who's now my ex-husband. Um, we were camping, and my dad's, I hadn't, back when no cell phones, this I'm aging myself, but this was back when we had no cell phones. So we're camping with his family, and I get home the next day, and my dad said, "Are you okay?" Oh my God, he was freaking out. He was an empath that he never understood what he had, but his eyes, I mean, everything made him tear up. And that particular day, he was completely freaking out. And he said, "Are you okay?" And I said, "Yeah, why? What's going on?" And he said, "I woke up to you screaming and could feel your fear. And I don't know, I just need to know that you're okay." And I said, "Oh my gosh, Dad, he told me what time it was. And it was the exact same time that I had jumped up out of the tent and was yelling at the dogs to be quiet because they were like fighting outside the tent. And I was yelling at them. And like my brother-in-law's dog was just like had this vicious thing going on. And I'm very attached to animals too. So I was feeling, I had not only my own fear, but I was freaking out over
What
the
was going on?
panic in the animals. So my dad felt all that.
Yeah.
And so years later, it dawned, I'm like, oh my gosh, I get it now.
What I've come to realize, and it wasn't apparent to me immediately, was that things are magnified, that we will tune into what's going on and feel that. And it's not just that, it's magnified. I'm like, holy Jesus, so unless you know what it is, you might think, geez, I'm moody. Where is this coming
Right.
from? What's that about? Like,
you're so emotional. You're so emotional. Why are you so emotional? I don't know. Aren't you the same way? No. I mean, I've had relationships like that where I'm like, well, I just think this is normal. I care about people. I care about what happens. And it's beyond that.
it's almost
Being in
like,
tune with that other person.
it's almost like you tune into their emotional layer,
Yeah.
where they may or may not even know it's there. But so I mean, at least for me, I'm like, why am I so intense of a person? I don't just take what they give me. I go there, then I go deeper and deeper. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't need to know all that. But it's so easy for me to recognize it. And it comes in without me even really trying a lot of times. So I get it entirely. So you thought, let me just get this straight. Your family did they ever find fault with the way that you were or functioned, or were they supportive and
You're
loving?
tapping on me. There's no, my family did not. It was the people on the outside of my life that, because my dad was very much the same way. And I truly believe that my mother is an empath, and she has never tapped into that. She has always been that person that needs to take medicine to calm her nerves. And I'm like, Mom, that's not what's happening here. Hey, stop. This is not what's happening.
Not yours. This is not yours. Yeah.
So, bless her heart, she's never fully embraced what's going on with her, and probably won't in this lifetime, because she's not ready to hear all that. But, well, I think she listens, but I don't know that she's 84 years old. So you don't always change an 84-year-old.
Well, it's one of those things, unless you're really, I mean, I know lots of people, I can tell right away when they're empaths, but unless it's real to them and it impacts their life, and it's to a degree that they can't, it's making them take notice. It's making them, it's impacting them. They will find something to do to just squash it or ignore it or avoid it. And then
or not talk about it, or
it's not really anything. It's just some crazy thing out there. I remember I had my daughter would never ever admit, but she is very empathic. She would never, this is not a cool thing, Mom.
She's not ready yet. She will be.
No, she will be when she is. But I remember, and to my husband, all these topics were just, and they still are to some degree, totally outside the box. What are you talking about, right? So I remember one day he comes home with my daughter, and they'd been doing karate. And for some reason, the room was more packed with people, and my daughter reacted. She needed to leave. She totally, like, she reacted. And he came home with her, and she came upstairs to see me, and she goes, "Don't tell Dad. I can't, I this, I that." And I'm like, she couldn't tell him because he wasn't going to understand, and he might actually think, so she's trying to hide it. So then later on, I had a conversation with my husband. I'm like, let me tell you something. And I'm not usually like in his face, because he's a very good guy. Like, he's not. You have got to be watching your daughter and watching the environment. And I said, and he's like somewhat flustered. He's like, "This is the world, Michelle. I can't." I'm like, that is your daughter. Well, and he's concerned about her being able to navigate and whatnot. I'm like, there is something more going on here that you need to respect. That's part of who she is. So I say that, and I said it strong enough that he actually stopped and took notice, because I don't usually, make a big deal, but I'm like, this is my daughter. Don't think this is frivolous. This is not me. You can discount what I say, and I can definitely improvise, but now you're talking about my daughter. and that isn't gonna work. So yeah, my mama came out.
I've had these conversations with, well, and both my kids are very gifted, and they've not fully embraced that yet.
Right.
They know. It's just they don't
know what to do with it.
They're in that denial thing and not really understanding, but they ask me a lot of questions, so they get it. But my grandkids, I've got a 5-year-old grandson and a 3-year-old granddaughter, and I have seen it in them from the word go. I have connected to them in the womb. I have, hey, she's pushing the screen. She about pushed it off the table. That's funny. But they feel so deeply. And I've had to tell my son the same thing. Listen, you have to remember that they feel everything going on in the house, outside of them, and they don't know what to do with that. That energy, that feeling of I'm going to come out of my skin, and they don't understand why, and it's not theirs. So I said, anything, when he's had issues and, at home, they don't know what to do with that. I mean, they feel their own, they feel what's going on with other people. Stay right there. And I love the fact that I get to teach that. I get to when I see it, I can guide that in the right direction instead of making them be 40 years old before they figure it out. And I've told my kids that I'm like, you shouldn't have to be 40 in your 40s before you have that aha moment. So, I get the eye rolls and the, yeah, whatever. But the seed's planted and it's there. So.
Well, and I think more and more and more people are bringing a voice to this and an understanding as adults, because it actually is a new movement. It's not like I just found out it. I've always been who I am. Mm-hmm. So have you, but nobody had a name for it.
Right.
And you'd be lucky if you had a mom or dad or aunts or uncles that understood it, mm-hmm. and could give you the lay of the land. And most of us didn't. As a matter of fact, a lot of empaths are scolded for being too sensitive, are considered, and they take on what's around them, mm-hmm. in order to kind of steady the space, neutralize this, make everybody happy somewhat.
Yeah.
And
they're this big. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think back to, this has been about 6 years ago. I mentioned the whole shopping mall thing. My mom was big. She loves to go shopping. Right. I hate it. And I could never explain it. And in about 6 years ago, maybe a little bit more than that now, but I was living in the suburbs of Chicago, and I'm pointing like y'all know where that's at. So I had been going to the flea markets with my boyfriend all day and some friends, and we walked into this flea market that wasn't outside. It was one of those indoor ones, and we had been fine all day long. And this lady walked up that everybody knew, and my boyfriend introduced me to her, and I always reach my hand out and I shook her hand, and I went. It was the most intense, like that was a trigger point for me. That was a moment where I needed to understand. Even though I had been trying to figure it out for many years before that, for some reason that particular day was a true piece of my awakening that there was no turning away from. And I had to go into the bathroom and just kind of gather myself, because I'm like, oh my God. It turns out she had been abused. She was going through a very difficult divorce and was sick. And when I touched her, I felt all of it. And it was like all of a sudden my gift expanded. And it was too much for me that day. And my boyfriend at the time was like, what's wrong with you? I don't know. I said, please understand that this is not, I said, hear my heart. Please hear my heart on this. This is not you. This is nothing you did. This is nothing. This is something I can't even put into words right now. And he's Mr. Non-emotion, right? So here I am. I'm feeling his emotion and mine, and I'm managing both of our emotion, pools. And then this person walks up, and I'm like, whoa! It just sent me to the moon, and I'm like, I don't know what to do with that. So I had to remove myself from that room and go somewhere else for a few minutes, and then have that discussion with him. And when we broke up, that's one of the things that he's like, you're just too emotional. And I said, no, it's not my emotion you're afraid of, it's your own. And I mean, it was like, all of a sudden I realized I should not have to apologize for who I am and how I process things. And I have this gift for a reason. And that's when I started really using it and started my business and started, making it more about taking that feeling and knowing that I was supposed to help that person.
Did you ever try to push it away, Beth?
Oh, yes. And honestly, dating as an adult's not fun. And everybody brings baggage into,
yeah.
I know that I want to say, for years, I was not proud of the fact that I've been married twice. It was hard for me to say that out loud. And the emotion of that alone was, there was shame attached to it. And then I healed, then I went through the whole healing process. Right. So, and that's another thing where I realized that I was carrying both sides of that healing. It wasn't just me. It was,
we're going to dive into that in a minute.
The abusive first spouse and his addictions and me getting away from that with my life. And then the second one that thought was forever and was, cheating on the side and that emotion and going. So it's like this a lot, but I just know that, coming from there to this point in my life, and I had this conversation with a client yesterday. She's kind of going through some of that herself. And I said, honey, this isn't yours. You are carrying the weight of the world. And we have to, I gave her some homework, but I said, we have to talk about this each step of the way and help you process where you're at, because she doesn't know what to do with all this. And she is highly empathic. She's in that I'm blaming myself for everything. And I'm like, oh, no.
Well, it's interesting. You talk about the whole blame. Whoa, the cat. All right. So the whole, sometimes I see us as a lot of us so concerned with other people and how they're receiving things and not wanting to trigger them, so it kind of,
she's so sweet.
stops you from being you. And then it's like, why are you avoiding an argument? Because in an argument, you've got this thing going, or a confrontation or saying no, because people may react. But so there's a skill there in, I don't want to say shutting down is not the right word, but tempering and strengthening who you are. So it's not this crazy back and forth all the time. But what was my point? Oh, there was a point with all this. Oh, the whole, this is, I feel guilty. I feel bad. It's my fault versus, no, it's your fault. Like, you made me do this. You did this. I feel this way because of you. I'm like, oh my God, what is this? Some sort of a sitcom of some sort? Because we have to each be able to take responsibility for how we feel. And when we blame other people for how we feel, then it's like almost as bad as blaming ourselves for how, the other people feel, how wrong I am and how this and how that. So it's like, it goes both ways. And the actual gift is in knowing more with more certainty who you are,
Yeah.
and clearing out the rest of what's around you, so you're not in a big muck all the time and trying to explain logically how you're feeling and why you're feeling that way, because logic is sometimes not even any part of this. It just it's
true.
it's energy. The energy goes back and forth with everybody you engage with.
Well, and I don't know about you, but years ago, if I think back to 20 years ago, my healing process would take me weeks or months to get past that, like the hurt or the emotion of something. And now I can do it within, minutes or days. I mean, it was like not even days, like maybe a day, but I'm like, that's huge. That piece of that, knowing that I can take that and
freedom.
feel what I need to feel, but let go of the rest of it that's not mine, but be able to still stand back and help somebody through what they're going through, and not having to take on everything that they're, I mean, it's that sifting process. And
well, and there's a skill to it.
yeah,
There's a skill and there's an awareness to it over how do I engage this without my heart is bleeding for them. I'm so sorry. It's like you're going in. So someone's in the weeds and upset and needs to be uplifted. And instead of giving them a hand and lifting them up, you're going in there with them. And that may work for some, but it doesn't work for me. I'm like, you want a hand? I'm gonna share with you how we're gonna get how you're gonna get a handle on this. And I think the beautiful part of empaths, whether we recognize it or not, is our capacity to, not always intentionally, but we're able to uplift just by the tone of our voice, just by a few words. I mean, I've had friends who, mind you, I think everyone's empathic in a sense that everyone feels. But when you feel more and you're in touch with more of your own, I want to say spirit, for lack of a better word, and it's this pure upliftment. If I get on the phone, if I'm upset, which will happen, it's happened and it will continue to happen.
We're human.
Yes, at different points. And I'm trying to process something. If I call this friend, say Susie, I call Susie, Susie will say, oh yeah, that's so bad. I'm sorry. Well, you could do this. That's Susie's energy. I get off the phone and I go, holy shit, I feel worse than I did when I got
right.
Then I call, Agatha, say, get on the phone just from a hello. Hey, honey, how are you? I am better. I am better. So there is something innate in the quality of the person.
Yeah.
That extends out. And it's, here I'm talking about phone, right? It can happen in a text message. It can happen in person. It can happen just from the intention. I was thinking about you and sending you something positive to uplift you. That is like the whole magic behind the idea of energy, that I think the world will start listening, especially in the times that we're in, because down and down and more down isn't going to support you. Like,
right. Yeah.
So I love this cat.
Cat tail.
So I want to try to get a little bit more concise here. How did you slowly, I'm just paraphrasing and correct me, you slowly but surely started developing more and more and more along the way. How do you look at, like, what is the journey to you, the healing part of this? Like, what things did you have to learn? I know there was a lot.
The power of crowds and how it affected me. Being aware of my bubble that I put around me every day. I honestly, I think I'm going to go back to when I went through my second divorce, and I remember being on my knees, like, just, I remember saying, let this start with me. Cause I I couldn't understand what was happening. I was like, I can't believe this is happening. But it was that point of being so low that I had to dig even deeper into my own heart and acknowledge who I am and acknowledge those pieces of me that make me tick and what makes me me. And I started reading a lot. I started trying to understand. I mean, anything I could get my hands on. And one day I came across the word empath, and I'm like, that's insane. That's me. And then my Reiki master teacher, honestly, it was even before that. I was in massage school, and the lady said, one of my instructors said, Beth, you're an empath, and you have to figure out, because I would work on people in class. We would do 4 or 5 massages a night, and I would leave and go home and sob the entire way. I had an hour drive, and I would like, it was just, everybody's junk was all, I didn't realize I was absorbing it. And she said, you're an empath, and you are absorbing people's energy, and you have to learn how to work with that. You have to learn how to process that. That was news to me. That was the first time anybody really put it into, a clear perspective.
It becomes very real.
Yeah.
When
so at that point, I really started to educate and understand what that is. And then my Reiki master teacher, she made it even clearer for me. And then I found a book that I read, and I was like, oh, and I shared it with my brother, and I shared, because he needed that as much as I did, my youngest brother. It became a daily venture for me to
get out,
educate and learn and understand those emotions on a daily basis, and what was mine and what wasn't, and what triggered that. And knowing that when I get up in the morning and I say, Father, Son, Holy Spirit, Archangel Michael, surround me now with every day I got this circle of light and protection around me, and I know what can come through that bubble and what can't. And it's intention. I set my intentions every single day. And that doesn't mean I have emotional days. I have, great rebound now, though. I have some interesting coworkers. So I come home some days and I'm like, so it's a process, but you have to set your intention on being better and understanding it, and not getting so caught up in all that other junk that's going on.
Yeah. What I feel, it's almost like we're fine-tuned. We tune into what's around us, and most of is around us can be really muddy and poison to us. Mm-hmm. So it's being strong enough in holding that, or you can say cocoon, you can say any words you want. Mm-hmm. But when some things will, at a certain point, if there is something you need to learn, it will come in. You will manifest it, and your relationships will teach you something that you may not. You didn't order that, but that's what came. Oh, this started beautiful, but then look at the ending. I'm like, where did I go wrong? How did I miss this? And
yeah, but at the same time, if we learn to ask ourselves, like when you get caught up in all the minutia of all that, and you feel the crappy side of it, and you say, okay, I am not put through anything that I'm not. I mean, there's always a lesson. There's always something that we're supposed to learn in whatever we're going through. So when you finally get to that point where you're like, whoa, wait a second. If you take a second and say, okay, you got my attention. So what is my lesson in this? What is my part of this journey in this piece that I'm supposed to learn?
Right.
And it's that moment of awareness that all of a sudden you're really paying attention and you're listening and you're learning at that point, instead of being caught up in the motion of it. So not always easy, but it's part of the process. It's part of the journey.
So there wasn't the one specific moment that really grabbed your attention was when you took the hand of somebody that was really in trouble, physically, mentally, emotionally.
That was a huge shove. I mean, the other pieces of it came long before that, but they were little pieces. And I don't, like the massage school stuff and the just those little pieces and interactions. But that particular day with that lady, for some reason,
Yeah.
it was like I stuck my hand in a light socket. Weird. Like it pushed me. Nancy, go. She's like,
the way I look at it, it was meant to happen. The way I received that, it was meant to happen. There really isn't an accident about it. And we're
no.
really not going to pay attention to something until it's in our face. So I just want to kind of move back a second when you said something about your brother. I don't need you to get specific, but what is it that you see? What is the empath side of him that he ignores?
The his senses are in overdrive, and he has removed himself from, like, he honestly was practicing COVID distancing, social distancing, long before that was ever around. Hiding and not coming out, but he is hypersensitive to sense. I mean, to the extreme. It's bad. And then he is a massage therapist, and he is really, really good at it. And he cannot be around. It has just, it's too much. It sends him into overload.
Has he learned, like, there are things that I have learned along the way, and I have actually met massage therapists that were sensitive enough that they had to get out of that field and do something else.
That would be me.
Yeah. Because
I had to.
Someone's body, and since, truly, I haven't met an empath that is exactly like another one. We all have a certain level, certain gifts. I mean, gifts that are totally outside that box that nobody would even think is real. And then to me, this is an evolutionary path. The evolution of people is to kind of balance the thinking and with the feeling. But because thinking is a whole enchilada for several people, they don't want to look at the feeling. If they actually paid attention to the feeling, they would get a lot of information and save themselves
absolutely
aggravation and but again, feeling is not an easy thing necessarily, because it's not black and white. It's not logical. You have to step into something and be willing to trust and go deeper into yourself. But the way I look at it, we're here to grow. So we keep on creating scenarios and situations and manifesting things that either they're going to help us move forward, or they're going to keep us circling in a circle until we see the circle is too painful. I better move out of this circle.
And unfortunately, that's the circle he's stuck in. And, I have supplied a lot of information, but until that person is ready to actually see it and push through that and learn from it, they don't do it. And it's truly hard for me to watch with him, because he is amazing and he's very gifted. And I mean, he's gone to, he studied a lot of metaphysical stuff, and he has this amazing gift, and he's really selling himself short in life. And it used to really eat me up, and I'm like, it's his journey. I have to let go of it, because it was hurting my heart at the same time. And I'm like, it's not mine to carry. All I can do is teach him, give him information,
give him support and love him. I mean, we all have people we love in our lives, and they're all their own person. And as much as I believe in the things I've learned and gravitated towards, and I'm passionate about it, they may or may not be able to hear me when I talk to them. And I still have to love them. So maybe my medicine, or the things I think are my way, it's not their way.
Right.
And
at least not yet. I mean, maybe down the road, they'll recall that conversation and be like, oh, and then all of a sudden that seed it sprouts.
Plant the seed.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So what do you see as the destination? Where are we going? Like if we were looking at this big, here we have this lifetime, this opportunity. I call it like an awakening when people start to recognize their gifts, their heart, their spiritual connection, their sensitivity, it all kind of, to me, it's an advanced version of being a human. Like
Mhm.
you're being a human on steroid.
Yeah.
I'm like, I can feel the manipulation and the negativity here. And where are you guys at? It's almost like, okay, well, I guess we're at fighting. I guess we're at collision. I guess we're at negativity. I guess we're at, where, you know, as an empath that's paving the way for others, what would you like to share in conclusion to encourage someone or have them understand what this is? And I want to say even the seriousness of what this is, because I've seen plenty of empaths developing physical illness.
Yeah.
They it's not like they're intentionally ignoring, but it doesn't mean anything to them. So they want to be normal.
Mm-hmm.
Normal. I mean, I can put myself in that. I don't want anything different for myself. I want to be able to go with, but there are certain things that are not, that are specific to me that I need to take this more seriously. This isn't like just a regular escapade or a regular, going to a fair. This is me really being awake and aware of what this is more so than others, so I can hold myself more accountable. So I guess my question is, what would you like to say to an empath that doesn't know they're an empath, or to empaths that are starting their journey, and to encourage them?
Oh, there's so many things that just came through my brain when you were saying all that, and I'm like, where to start? So, well, I'm just gonna say this: it starts in the heart. So, yeah, and that's even huge. So, if there's one thing I always say, and that's that we have to lead from our heart. It comes from here. So whatever we say and do, it starts in the heart, and we have to lead with our heart. There's a lot of stuff, especially going on in the world right now, that people are freaking out over. And the empaths that are uneducated and they're not sure of what's going on, it's a lot for them. So, I mean, I tell my clients I want them to reach out. Don't be afraid to ask questions. If they're feeling that way, hey guys, you need to stop. They're all under my feet right now.
Is all two?
I have 2 cats and a dog, and my dog's an Australian Shepherd, and he's 2 years old. So he is a toddler he's fussing with the cats, and I'm like, I'm gonna get clawed in a second. No, there are people out here that want to help guide. And I'm one of them, and I know you are too. And we've all lean into the people that have experienced some of this. Don't be afraid to ask questions. And you're not crazy. You're in a process that sometimes it's not always easy, but once you get through those super rough patches and begin to understand who you are and why, life gets so much easier, and it's beautiful. I mean, it's like a superpower. It's just so, I mean, it's once you understand it, and you can walk into a room and be like,
Yes.
hey, I got this. This is not a big deal anymore. And just you ride that wave. And so just, hang in there sounds silly, but hang in there, ask questions. Always come from a place of love and understanding, and listen more. It's not, I think that's one of the hardest things that, as I listened, instead of absorbing it, I was absorbing too much. But see, I've got all these things in my head I want to say, and it's not coming out right. So
No, it's perfect. It's perfect.
It's like that piece where you're like, why do I feel this? And I just want to, you're like, you just want to bawl all the time. First of all, cry it out, let it out, because that's healing in itself. But know that you're not crazy. You're this way for a reason. And I mean, the questions, the educating yourself, meditation for me has been huge. Learn how to, take those moments, whether you're sitting in the bathtub at night in a tub full of Epsom salt and lavender oil, and you're listening to a YouTube video of some meditation music for 7 to 10 minutes, and you're just washing the ugh of the day off of you. Wow. Or you go to bed and you listen to it, and throughout the evening, and learn how to control your breathing. That for me, like I did a thing with a guy yesterday that is teaching a different level of, I can't think what it's called, but I said, this is like next level after meditation, where you learn to go without breath, and it bumps you up. It bumps up your brain cells. And but meditation is huge. You've got to learn to quiet yourself and come back to the center and this heart space. And if you're feeling out of whack, and I'm a Reiki, I'm gonna push Reiki here for a second. Reiki's been huge for me. Reiki has brought me, it's life force energy. So it has helped me keep my chakras balanced. The meditation and the Reiki healing, just my own personal Reiki healing on myself was huge for me. And it's just keeping yourself balanced and grounded. And if you live in a place that you can go outside and put your bare feet on the ground, make sure you do that every day, because you have to find that balance in your life, and putting your feet on the earth or in the water, in the salt water, it's huge. Empaths need water. They need that flow, and it's super important. So if the only thing you have is a bathtub, or if the only thing you have is a shower, let that water wash that emotion away and down the drain, and only hang on to what's yours.
Right. So there is a lot to be learned, and you learn by opening up yourself up and playing with it, reaching out to people, experiencing it. Once you get a taste, from my experience, once you get a taste of how good you can feel, you're like, I'm not doing this other stuff anymore. Mm-hmm. That is like, so you start to really recognize differences in the quality of your life, the quality of your experience. And the point here is that you're in control. Yes. The outside, you're not supposed to be feeling, the outside is not for you to control, because you can't. You can control your inside and your immediate surrounding around you and what you take in. And when you learn more, which is stepping into more of an awareness, more of a curiosity, more of a open-mindedness, I don't know, anything is possible. And
it truly is. And paying attention to how you feel around certain people. There's a purging of those people. I have a lot of friends that go clear back to elementary school, but I've also learned who feeds me and who depletes me. And you have to pay attention to that, and not be afraid to say no to things that don't make you feel good, or that don't jive with your emotional side.
So anyway, thank you, Beth. Tell everybody your website again. What is it?
It's healingthatrocks.com. I'm rebuilding it right now. So right now my Facebook page is up. I had an issue with my original one, so it's being rebuilt, and it'll be back up. I'm hoping within the next, I was hoping 2 weeks, but we're probably still at 2 weeks. So I told you 2 weeks ago, like 2 weeks ago.
All of this takes time. As long as they can find you on Facebook or they can,
Yeah.
that's fine.
It's Healing That Rocks, and it's Facebook or the website will be back up. So.
Perfect. And if any of you want to follow Empath Evolution, go to our page. We do have a community too, a private group on Facebook. I'd love to have you in there. We do healing circles and we do lots of other things to support the empaths. And this right here, this interview, I love because I love to see like another journey and to hear, the blessings that have come in and how you're handling it. And I think people will benefit from that so much. One of the
I
things
hope
that,
so.
oh yeah, absolutely. So thank you. One of the things that I noticed, we all come with, a blank slate, and then we're kind of people by osmosis, we absorb whatever it is that's familiar to us. And we think that is the way that the world works, right? But for me, it's been a transition in who I am every step of the way, and to be conscious of that and to prioritize that, and to the world is not the same tomorrow. When I wake up, it's going to be a little bit different for Michelle, and the same thing the day after. I think it gives you something to look forward to. It gives you something to feel blessed about, like you now stop taking all this for granted, and you start getting excited about the potential of where we're going. And forget the world or what they're doing. Where are you going?
Exactly.
So,
yep.
All right, everybody. Till next time. Thank you for being here, and thank you for everything that you share with the world on your own. Have a great day. And thank you, Beth.
See you, everybody. Thank you.